your first time seeing any of my videos, my name is Bwandungi and I am so glad that you are here. I talk about books, I talk about writing because I am on a journey to publishing a story that I'm working on. 2018 has decided that it doesn't want to stick around, so it's rushing out. And we have to contend with that because it's fall, and every time fall approaches, I'm just like, oh my God. Everything has come to, like, I don't have any more time. I need to do stuff. But I do have a beautiful view outside my window. One of the other things that I love, aside from sort of all the colors changing during the fall in October, is all the wonderful things that are in the aisles of the stores for Halloween decorations, like the pumpkins and the little witches. I want one of those little witches that sit on the shelf. I also really am attracted to the bookends, you know, the pile of books of curses and spells and the little bottles of potion. This one is poison and this one is like eyeball juice or something, and it makes me feel like I'm walking into a potions class. I'm expecting Snape to come through, and it just puts me in this wonderful fantasy state of mind. I love Halloween and all the decorations that it brings. And so as part of sort of this celebration of I'm going to be looking at some of my favorite villains in literature and having a conversation about them. And if you watched my last video, it's not just about what I liked or didn't like about the character. I'm going to try and do something a little different where we are talking about how these villains work inside our stories and the kinds of things that we can do to make them better. What we can learn from the different villains in the stories that we encounter. The first villain that I have chosen is Her Imperial Majesty, Jadis Queen of Narnia. Narnia is one of my favorite stories. Me and my siblings read our books until they were in tatters. And I know we all went, you know, looking for that special cupboard in any house, anywhere, to see if we could find our way to this fascinating Narnia place. Jadis is based on The Snow Queen that was written by Hans Christian Andersen. Interestingly enough, he based this character on someone who spurned his romantic advances called Jenny Lind, and she was an opera singer.
Backstory.
Jadis is descended of Adam's first wife, Lilith. If you didn't know, in Jewish folklore, Adam did not have just the one wife Eve. He started out with another wife called Lilith. Lilith was a demon or a genie. I guess after the relationship with Adam didn't work out, she went ahead and found herself a giant husband, and from that line was descended Jadis and all her people. She was a seeker of magic. She wanted to know all the magic that there was, and in her search she came across the deplorable word, which she used in a battle against her sister while she was trying to overthrow her. Her sister cheated, and she went ahead and used the deplorable word that destroyed, that killed every living thing in Charn. Two kids come to her city and wake her up by ringing a bell. In The Magician's Nephew, she gets dragged all the way to London, where she finds out her magic doesn't work anymore, and she brandishes a lamppost that she literally pulled from the ground and beats police officers with it while they're trying to control her because she's just going wild in London. She gets dragged from London to a proto-universe, to a proto-world, where a singing lion whose mouth is wide open, a giant lion with a giant open mouth, is singing magical words, and as he sings, things start coming into being. She tries to kill it by throwing an iron bar at it. It hits the lion in the face, falls to the ground, but nothing happens to the lion. But she's like, I'm not sticking around for this. She finds an apple, eats it, it turns her white, and then she moves north. And we don't hear about her until we get to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So 900 years later, she overthrows the monarchy, or possibly they just died out from some disease and she had the opportunity to take the throne. We don't know because there are no human beings in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. We find that she has installed herself as the Queen of Narnia, and she has brought with her everlasting winter. So far, there has been 100 years of winter. The everlasting snow idea comes from Hans Christian Andersen's Snow Queen, who comes from a place that actually exists. It's a place called Spitsberg in the Arctic Ocean, where it is like winter her always. And at the end of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Jadis is killed and we don't see her again. There are some people who believe that the Green Lady, who we find in the 6th book, in the silver chair, is Jadis, but it's not Jadis. It just happens to be another lady of the witches from the north.
Character type.
Jadis is a very complex character. She is not flat by any means. She's very, very static. She does not change over time. She doesn't learn very many lessons. When we meet her, she is a power-hungry, entitled magician queen, willing to destroy everything so that she can gain power. When we meet her towards the end of her life, she's still a power-hungry witch queen who's willing to destroy everything so that she can gain power. On the other hand, she is just a very complex character whose motivations are understandable.
Motivation.
The first one is survival. She's been taken from her land, which is basically being destroyed by the gravity from the sun that is just expanding out of control, so she has to leave. And when she leaves, she's taken to London where her magic doesn't work, so she needs to survive. And then she ends up in Narnia, a place that is just being born. She needs to survive there as well. The second thing is she's trying to recover what she lost. She was a queen, she had a kingdom, there were all these people who revered her, she had a long history in her royal bloodline, and she was just trying to get that power back. The third thing is she wanted to rule the world. If you're the kind of person who believes that royal blood and magic gives you the power to figure out what's best for everyone, then I guess that's okay. We can disagree, but that's your idea. The fourth thing is acceptance. She couldn't figure out why people could not accept her, and that's why she was turning everybody into stone. She really just wanted people to bow down to her, and she gave them opportunities to do that. And when they didn't, stone, stone.
Is she a good villain?
The characteristics that define a good villain are the following. Number one, that she is depicted as evil. Number two is that she would consider herself some kind of hero, someone who's trying to do something good. This is how things are supposed to be, and just let me do it. You'll be fine. The third thing is that her motivation moves the story along, which it does. She's trying to kill the kids, especially in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, whose very presence in Narnia means that she will be overthrown, and she doesn't want that. Number four, she has a code. You must be of royal blood, and you must have magic in order to rule. And you must obey her. The fifth thing that makes her a good villain is the fact that she has an awesome villain wardrobe. This lady was like, yo, if I must be as white as salt, and she's like, I can work with this, you know? I can have a crown that looks like ice, and I can have my white furs, and I can have my long glittering dress. She worked the hell out of that. Loved it! Tilda Swinton's costume designer. The things that make her a bad villain are that she works by herself. Like, it's been 900 years, but for some reason she's not been able to sell her vision. Sure, she has a police force and all this other stuff, but she has no one at her level to help her achieve her goals. She has no other trick in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe other than turning people into stone. Like, that was it. She didn't even like throw a knife at somebody or cut someone's throat or something. Being this evil being, all she did was turn people into stone. It was a one-hat trick and it was overplayed. Point number three is that she did not love anything. It made it difficult to identify with her as a person because she only had strong bad feelings, not strong good feelings. She was made to be pure evil. People are not just pure evil. And she had no weaknesses other than the fact that she didn't know as old a magic as Aslan knew. She was still a strong military strategist. She could turn shit into stone. Those are the 5 things that made her just a very weak villain. I previously mentioned that she was my favorite villain, and I think I began to identify with her as an immigrant, which is the strangest thing to think about, but she had been ejected from her because she couldn't be there anymore. The planet was being destroyed. She had to leave where she was and go to a different land, but she had to figure out how to exist. She also adjusted herself to suit her surroundings and figured things out very quickly. When she got to London, she figured out that her magic didn't work. So instead of her magic, she decided to use her strength. And she was described as being 7 feet tall and a amazingly, painfully beautiful. I'd love to see that. She believed that she could get people to do things for her. She spent some time in Narnia trying to hone her magical skills, trying to figure out what it is that she could use. And I guess that's what she used in order to overthrow the monarchy in Narnia. Another reason that I identify with her is this idea of loneliness. The fact that she had eaten an apple that was supposed to give her eternal life. So when she sees Diggory, she tells him, just eat the apple and then we can go off and rule this world. We can figure things out. I can identify with that desire to have another person with you as you experience eternal life. Who would want to do it alone? I wouldn't, which is possibly why she had no good feelings for anyone. I'm jaded. I can't imagine how jaded I would be at like 1,000 years old. The other reason why Jadis is one of my favorite villains is her crown. That is just like, I want a crown now. I have actually ordered crowns online so that I can wear them to feel majestic. Jadis characteristics to learn from. I actually became more fascinated with Jadis as a villain when I started looking at her backstory, where she came from, the things she did. I became very fascinated with this story, and so I wanted to examine how I could use her story in order to inform what I'm doing with my own villain. The first thing is no one loved her. No one bought into her story. No one understood what her motivations were. She was unable to convince anyone. And I'm not just saying about the people she terrorized, the animals, the hags, and the wolves, and so on, that she had with her fighting at the end of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. There's a cause to imagine that there were other people in the north, because the Green Lady came from the north. We eventually meet the Telmarines, but she was unable to convince anyone of her goals. No one just did things with a passion for her because it was a passion. I have to find a way for my villain to be loved. The people that he's working with to have such a passion for his vision, to buy into it so strongly that even without him continuously present in their space, and they just like, we believe this guy and we will do whatever it takes. Just that passion. That's what I think I need to work into my villain story. The other thing is, in trying to figure out my villain, I think I have a more complex backstory for the villain than I do for the protagonist. And I have done the character questionnaires, you know, the ones with like 10,000 questions about the character. I actually have one, and yet still the story of the villain is much more complex than the story of the protagonist. Also, for a different project and not this particular one, I think I am going to be very interested in writing the story of a villain as the protagonist.
Have a wonderful week.
So that's all I had this week. I hope that you were able to learn some things yourself. Please go ahead and tell me which villain is your favorite villain. Thank you so much for being here. You stuck all the way to the end of the video, and I'm so glad that you were here. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe and like this video. Let me know that this is the kind of content that you're interested in seeing from my channel. That's it. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful night. And I will see you in the next video when we discuss another villain.